I'm going to tell you right now, it is Radio Day today, and you're in for a special treat, an expanded edition of KCIM Sports Rewind this morning. We are going an extra, well, almost a minute 40 seconds extra.
That's a good amount of extra time.
We could literally fill with valuable information. We won't, but we could.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do we ever?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure we ever do. So we got a great show, though, coming up here. We're going to be talking with Justin Kraft. You had a chance to chat with him, and my wife actually sent me the notice that she saw online. It's like, wow, Justin Kraft is doing some really cool stuff up there in Minneapolis as a golf pro. I immediately forwarded it on to you and said, we got to get this kid on Rewind, and bam, here we go.
Yeah. And just such a fun, still call him a kid, but he's not a kid anymore. He's 28, young man. Yeah.
It tends to fly by once they get out of high school.
It does, yeah. But I always had fun talking to him when he was playing up at East Sac County, whether it be golf or basketball. And it was a lot of fun to catch up with him, and it was really cool because I texted him, and here's a guy that's on PGA of America and Golf Digest, and Wall Street Journal's been reaching out to him, and all these major publications. And I texted him, and within a couple of minutes, he texted back and was like, "I would love to do it." Told me in the interview that you'll hear here in a little while that I'm still a Sac County, Calhoun County, Carroll County, kid. He loves it back here, and I was lucky to catch up with him. I caught up with him actually on Sunday. He was driving. He had come home to the Wall Lake area, Wall Lake View, Auburn, Sac City area, and then was driving back up to Minneapolis. So
isn't that great, though? We got Nick Nurse, who's the head coach of the 76ers, Justin Kraft, who's doing nationwide stuff with the PGA and all those things you mentioned there. It's just really, really cool that both those guys are like, no, man, I love where I'm from.
Yeah, absolutely. Casey Kaspabauer, the same thing, doing great things up at USD. And I found out from Justin that Reed Tellinghusen no longer at SDSU as part of that staff. He's the head coach of Wynota or something like that up in the Minneapolis area. He's the head girls basketball coach there.
Nice.
They decided to move on and
get out of that blue and yellow. Ugh. Terrible colors. I don't know, just that whole jackrabbit, the ears thing bothers me with their whole logo up there.
For anybody that doesn't know, John's a USD grad.
The coyote dude through and through there. So, there's lots to talk about, but we're going to start with a story that came out earlier this week.
Yeah.
Now, you've known about this for a little while.
Yeah.
Kemper baseball coach Randy Snyder stepping aside.
Yeah, he indicated to me back at state baseball that this announcement could be coming, and we had a conversation about it. But, I got the press release yesterday morning. So you had messaged me and said you were kind of shocked. I wasn't, only because of the conversation, but at the beginning of the year, even at the end of the year, when they were in the postseason, if you'd have told me Randy was going to step away at the end of the year, I wouldn't have believed it and stuff. But
he
what
just
a great career.
Loves that program, loves the sport of baseball. He's such a good coach as well. I mean, how many years at Kemper? 20-some years?
Yeah, 24 years on the staff, 17 as the head coach, and 6 as the JV coach.
And
7
he still
stated tournaments.
Still holds the record for the slowest walk to the mound I have ever seen in my entire life.
He got faster over the years, yes.
Wow, you couldn't time him with a calendar or something?
So it used to be with the sundial or whatever, and then
I love giving Randy grief.
We do.
I told you, I messaged you as soon as that came out there. I said, we got to get him on the show. My first question, I already know, what the blank are you thinking?
And you'll get to ask him that next week. He's going to be our guest.
Randy, that's your first question. What the blank are you thinking?
And that gives him a little time to kind of come up with his answer. But I'm guessing we might be able to go almost the entire half hour with him talking about his career next week. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Without a doubt. So it's interesting. It's interesting times now for Kemper. They've got a great young assistant. There's no telling who's no official takeover yet.
Yep. But you got to think that maybe somebody on the staff will take over, but there's no guarantee on that. I know I had several people message me yesterday and say, is Kemper going to be able to get Michael Barta to leave Johnston? Yeah. I said, well, I'm sure they will reach out, but there's a part of me that says he's built one of the elite programs in the entire state of Iowa.
Class 4A.
And more than likely he's probably not going to leave what he built. But you never know. You don't know until you ask.
Well, it's kind of like John Waddle maybe leaving Coon Rapids. Like, it just seems out of the possibility.
Right? Yeah. Hopefully, John never retires.
No kidding. Yeah, we're keeping our eye on you, John.
Yes.
You need to stay right where you're at for all this stuff. So, I had a chance to chat with a longtime local coach, Eric Noggle, 25-year veteran of special ed up there at Carroll High.
Great guy.
Football, wrestling coach, man. I love that. Just a fun conversation.
Yep.
The dude has energy like nobody else.
I know.
And you just know it when you're talking to him and stuff. So I asked him, we're going to give you a little preview, a little couple-minute clip here from the podcast, which is available now at 1380kcim.com. I asked him the ultimate question, football or wrestling, and check out what he says here. Football or wrestling? Which one, if you had to give up one, what would you give up? Agony over here. It's just an agony over this one.
Because you're not the first person to ask me this. They're different.
I would have thought for sure you'd have said football. You'd give up football because of wrestling. You seem like you just love wrestling. There was times I'd be setting up for a basketball broadcast, and this is back when Carroll High had the wrestling practice. Yep, at the mezzanine level. It was so loud. Music was blaring, things like that. I mean, it was a huge event almost going on, and I could hear you over the top of everything.
That's good.
Kids seem to be having a good time.
Yeah. I think wrestling's different because I'm so into it because I had to learn it. Again, I never wrestled, so I never went.
That
through
surprises
that.
me.
No, like I said, I wrestled in junior high for like 2 weeks and decided that wasn't for me. But wrestling was always in the winter, and my dad would go deer hunting, so that was our family thing. We'd always go deer hunting. Well, wrestling, you can't go deer hunting and you can't go hunting because you're gone every Saturday, so I can't do that. And my dad didn't like wrestling, so I never did wrestling. My cousins all did wrestling, but I never did wrestling. So I don't know. Wrestling, I love wrestling because it's just different, because it's so intense and it's a one-on-one and it's just you and them, and you really have to look at who you are as a person, and you really have to question yourself of what you're really doing, because nobody does it for fun. Like, I love when kids are like, oh, I'm going to go out for wrestling. I'm like, you don't do any other sport. And they're like, yeah, but I'm going to do wrestling. And I'm like, you're going out for like the hardest sport in the world. Why are you doing this? There's something wrong with you. You got to be crazy in the head. Did your parents not love you?
And this is your coach telling you this.
This is your coach. Like, you sure you want to do this? But every kid that has come out for wrestling that's never done it before absolutely loves it, because it's you. And like I said, when things get ugly, what type of person are you going to be? And I think wrestling puts that in your life. Like, for instance, the things that you've been going through. You're just going to lay in bed, or you're going to have to get up. You got to get up and function. The world's not going to stop because you feel bad today.
Yeah.
Same thing with wrestling. The world's not going to feel bad because you lost today. Yeah, it sucks and it's miserable, but nobody's going to care. In the grand scheme of things, nobody cares but you and the people that are around you. Where football, you have 11 other guys that you can kind of bring in and you get a blend in.
You're part of a team in wrestling, but not like football.
100%. I still have to do my job in the sport of wrestling, but it's just me. So if I failed, it's what did I do wrong? On a football field, I could fail, and I still had Aaron Ballman sitting next to me who was going to make the tackle.
Yeah.
Or I had Scott Stewart behind me who was going to cover my rear end when things got ugly. When I'm out on the mat, I don't have anybody to turn to. When I look at the ceiling, it's just me. Or if I screwed something up, it's just me, and then you have to answer that aspect of it. So I guess I'm circling the question. I don't know which one I'd give up or do first.
Oh, yeah, I forgot we even asked that question, so we'll just move on. Yeah, he just talked around it as all. So, and never did answer the question, football or wrestling, but the guy's just intense.
It is, and so that hopefully means he's not giving up either one.
I don't think so, not lately. And he does talk about how he became the wrestling coach. His wife threatened to divorce him if he took the job, but then she came around to it because of a certain person that we talk about in the podcast. Right. So, yeah, it was a fun conversation with Eric. And man, Casey is back in the studio after doing an interview over there. I mean, you've been next to him in the coaching booth and stuff like that. Well, he's down sidelines now, but man, when he was up in the booth, there was no quiet time.
I also got the opportunity to be coached by Eric too.
Yep.
Yeah. And one of the best coaches I've ever had. And I'll say that I remember me and Jeff were on a broadcast, and Jeff's trying to get me to say something bad about him, trying to give him some crap. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I have too much respect for Eric. So.
Yeah. I did ask him if he was a screamer or a communicator. Yeah. He goes, well, I tend to probably be on the louder side of things.
But I think he's both. I think when he's when he's being loud and he's communicating and he's coaching, and stuff. So the thing I miss, and I'll give him the hard time. I love Eric. He's such a great guy, but I miss when he first was the head wrestling coach. Sometimes I would catch myself watching him bend and twist his body into these positions that I didn't think a human could possibly do as he was trying to instruct the kid out on the mat, and stuff. And it was always funny. As he's gotten older, he doesn't quite bend and twist the way he used to. But yeah.
I think the one thing that impresses me the most about him is that it doesn't matter if you're the kid on the bench that doesn't get playing time or you're the star. Yep. He cares about you the same way, and it does, and he's there for you. Yes, no matter what.
Yeah, I said it before we went into the interview. I said just the word that comes to mind is energy with him. I mean, I think he brings it, and then the kids feed off that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then the thing that, as Casey just said about him, Karen, you interview him after state wrestling every year, and the emotion starts to come out about the kids. And it's not about him or the season. It's about the kids, and that's when he cares, and then you see the emotion come out of him and what those kids mean to him, and why those kids will run through a brick wall for that guy.
Yeah. And he also talked about how he wound up teaching special education. Okay. Said that was never the plan.
Right.
Until he got to college, and they told him, forget about your plan. It's not going to work.
Right.
He goes, then I had to figure a few things out, and he decided on that and has never looked back since. He loves it.
Yeah.
So just proves that. Yeah, he's been doing it for 25 years, and still, he goes, I can't wait to get back to school.
Good for him.
And you miss the students and things like that, and I can just totally see that. Like I said, you go in before basketball games when they used to wrestle on the mezzanine level to practice, you'd hear his voice booming all over the top of the blaring music, everything else. His laugh or his his giving kids grief about something, and picking on him a little bit. But the kids loved it. You can just tell.
Yeah.
So, great podcast with Eric. It's available right now at 1380kcim.com. We're going to jump aside real quick. Back with the interview, Justin Kraft, who was working with who now?
I forget the name of the
he's
golf
a golf
course.
pro up in Minneapolis.
Pro. He's a director of instruction, and we'll talk about it in the interview. But I can't remember. It's like the nicest golf country club in the Minneapolis area, and I'm drawing a blank right now on the name of it. So,
but that's coming up here in about 30 seconds on KCIM Sports Rewind.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
We're back here on KCIM Sports Rewind on this Tuesday morning. Jeff Blankman joined here by an extremely special guest, former ESAC Raider Justin Kraft. He is now the Director of Instruction up at Spring Hill Golf Course up in the Minneapolis area. Justin, it is so good to catch up with you, man. I can't believe it's been as long as it has since we've had a chance to chat, so I appreciate you joining us here today.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thanks for having me. It's been way too long.
It has been. I loved covering you while you were in high school. You had that great career as well. GPAC Player of the Year, if I remember right, what 2017, 2018, somewhere in there?
Yeah, so at Northwestern College, shout out Red Raiders in Orange City, 2015 and 2018, I think. It was freshman and senior year of college, yes. Got lucky and won the GPAC Player of the Year.
I don't know if I'd call it luck. Golf's been something. You were a heck of a basketball player as well, but golf's always been something you really enjoy. What is it about that game that kind of drew you to it?
I think back to when I was just starting golf. I was in middle school, and I remember making like the same swing. It felt like the same swing over and over and over again, and I would just get a different result every time. I'd hit one to the right, I'd chunk it, I'd hit one perfect, and I'm just like, all that time I was just so curious why those same swings maybe produced different results. And so that curiosity, I guess, led me into a nice path of a playing career, and then also even further into a real career. So I think that's probably where it was born, was just a deep curiosity with felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again, but the results were super variable.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the reason you're doing what you're doing. It sounds like you were a student of the game right away. Did you ever think at that age that you'd be a guy that's on the Golf Channel and Golf Digest? You're all over Instagram now. You're instructing a lot of people in the game of golf, and you've become a big name right now in the world of golf.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words there. I never really dreamed of being, a person that would teach the game of golf. I think, honestly, in high school, it was more about basketball for me. I was, like you said, I was a big hoops guy. And so usually as I looked at my future, I thought, maybe basketball coach. As I got further through my high school career and into college, I maybe contemplated the idea of being a professional golfer at one point, but I knew that wasn't in the cards pretty early into my college career. So, that's why you go to college. You got to get a degree and have a backup plan. So I did, and then ended up just not using it.
Before we started talking here on the show, Justin, you told me that, while you were in college, you kind of felt like you had maybe almost reached your plateau as a player. And as you said, you knew the PGA probably wasn't in the cards. What was it with your game where you're like, I don't know if I can get a lot better than what I am right now?
Yeah, really, really good question. So as a coach even, I really believe that all golfers have kind of two pillars, I guess, as it pertains to their ability. And one would be their mechanics and one would be their skill level. And so when you look at some golfers' mechanics, really look at on video and say, how does each position look? How is the sequencing? And then the skill is really something a coach can't see. And so these are the players that are self-taught. They may have funky swings, but they work really well. And so what I kind of realized was my mechanics probably were as good as they were going to get. They weren't awesome, but my skill was pretty high. For the type of swing that I had, I really maxed out how good I could be. And once you get to a certain age, it's just really hard to change your swing all that much. And so I felt like I was a player that, was relatively skilled, but the mechanics and the technique that I was using was probably not going to lend itself to becoming a PGA Tour caliber type of player. But I could absolutely, have some good rounds, college golfer.
And now you talk kind of like you don't get out on the course very often. You're so busy giving instructions. Yeah,
I think I want to say I've played, what is today, middle August. I think I've played 6 times this year, and that's reasonable. I think I played 11 times last year, but no, I'm spending a lot of time at a golf course, obviously, every day, teaching golf lessons. And so sometimes after a 9 to 11 hour-ish day, the last thing you really want to do with your free time is stay there even longer. But I still love the game. It's still super. I'm still trying to learn every single day. I still don't have the answer to my question. Why can it feel the same every time and produce different results? So until I figure that out, I'm going to lay awake at night wondering.
Well, Justin, I know my swing's not the same every time I think it is, but I guarantee it isn't. But it goes everywhere all over the course. And I don't even think somebody your level could fix what I do wrong. But for you, as you graduated college, you said you had a major and a degree and you didn't really use it. How did you get started into giving lessons and develop and grow into what you've become?
Well, I actually started by trying to use my degree. So I had at least a 6-month, maybe it was 9-month stint as a banker in Sioux Center, Iowa, which is right by Northwestern College. And so I started there, but I just, I wasn't, I don't think, super excited to go to work, super happy to be doing what I was doing. And so I told my wife, I really need to do something that gets me excited to go to work. And I think the only thing that can do that is golf. And so I want to find a way to get into the golf business. And so really the only place that would even look at me was in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And so after a couple discussions and interviews, I was like, hey, can we, move to Minneapolis? And after we made that transition, it's really kind of taken off from there. I'm excited to go to work every day. I really enjoy what I do, and I get to meet a lot of cool people along the way.
How did you transition then into Spring Hill? Was that the second job for you, or how did that grow and develop for you?
Yeah, so I started at Golf Tech, and I think I was there for about 2 years. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I got to teach a lot of golf lessons, but eventually I got a little bit tired of hitting only indoors. And so Golf Tech is an indoor instruction company. It's fantastic, but you're limited to being indoors every day. So I wanted to, find a way to teach, but also be outside and see the ball fly and teach chipping and putting. And so I actually moved to Raleigh, North Carolina for about 9 months, realized it wasn't a good fit, where I came back to Minnesota, kind of right next to Golf Tech almost, was a private country club called Medina that took me on as their teaching professional. And I was there about 2 years. And in my second year, I won the Youth Player Development Award for the Minnesota PGA section. So that was really cool. I had a chance to work with a lot of junior golfers, and I absolutely loved it. But kind of after that award was given to me in the winter, I had a couple other clubs that were interested in bringing me on as a full-time teaching professional. And so Spring Hill is where I ended up being their director of instruction, and I've been there almost 2 years, I guess a year and like 9 months now.
How much do you love it there?
It's the coolest place on earth, and it's not close. I love it. I have the world's biggest man cave for an office. It's the coolest. There's all kinds of golf technology, clubs, everything you can imagine. It's so cool.
Can you talk about some of the people maybe that you've had a chance to work with and help? Maybe some of the professionals, or maybe some of the golfers that people out there may know those names.
I'll try to keep a lot of their actual names probably confidential a little bit, just out of respect for Spring Hill, but a lot of elite NFL and MLB athletes. So there's some Hall of Famers in there as well, so that's super cool. And not just that, also a lot of like Fortune 500 CEOs and guys that travel all over the world all the time for their jobs at what they do. Surgeons, doctors, lawyers. It's unbelievable the type of people you meet. And when you spend time with those people that are in the top 1% of their field over and over and over again, you start to notice the characteristics and the traits they possess, and you start trying to want to take those on yourself. So I'm not only teaching them, but I am learning from them at the same time.
That's got to be really intriguing. When did you start to pick up some of that, where you started to notice that I'm learning from them maybe how to become better at what you even do?
Yeah, it was right away. I mean, you can just tell, how those people pay attention to detail, how organized they are, how prompt they are, and then how serious they are when you tell them, something that they need to do, how detailed that process is. So you can't just tell someone, at that level, hey, I want you to go practice this. Well, how long do you want me to practice it for? What's my feedback? Do you want me to video it? Do you want me to set up a drill station? How many balls do you want me to hit? With what club? Should I have a target? What target should that be? Should I be swinging 60%, 80%, 100%? They are so detailed. They just want to get it right, and they know that that's the way to do it.
Sounds like your day is pretty organized. What's a typical day for you?
A typical day, I'll roll in, depending on the lesson schedule that day. I'll probably roll into Spring Hill a little bit before 8 o'clock. Usually, it depends on the time of year, but 5 to 8 lessons a day, and lessons are about an hour, a little less than an hour. I'll get there a little bit before 8 o'clock. I'll get down to my teaching facility by 8:20, say hi to a few members probably along the way that are on the driving range, and then, as soon as 8:30 or 9 o'clock hits, I'm rolling into at least probably 3 or 4 lessons in a row before I then take maybe a 30-minute lunch break if I have one. I might drive back up to the clubhouse, say hi to a few more members, check on a few things in the pro shop, see if those guys need anything from me, and then usually got 3 or 4 more lessons in a row in the afternoon. So I'll buzz back down to the practice building, make sure all my cameras and technology is charged up and ready to go, and teach those lessons before I try to get out of there by 5:30 or so, usually most nights.
And I'm sure for each of the different people you're working with, you're having to come up with a different what they need to work with and how you want to go about helping them with what that area is.
Yeah, so that's a passion of mine. Golf is one of these funny sports where it feels like, and no offense to anyone, but it feels like everybody can give an opinion to anyone who hits a bad shot. And for whatever reason, we just accept that in golf. And so most common one would be someone hits the top of the golf ball and it rolls 10 feet and they say, oh, keep your head down. But all of a sudden, sometimes that's good information and sometimes it's not. But I'm very passionate about making sure we're not my students aren't on a hamster wheel of things that don't work, things they maybe heard from a friend or they saw on TV or they saw on a YouTube video. I try to identify, 1, 2, maybe 3 things a player needs to work on for long-term growth. And then every time they come in, I will document whatever it is we worked on. I have an app on my phone. I share the app and the videos with them. And so anytime they come in, the first thing we do is we reference what we did in our last lesson and we build upon it. There's no random try this, try that. I have a plan for each and every student and member that walks through those doors. Otherwise, you're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. I'm not a fan of that.
I'll completely understand that, and that's the reason why you've gotten to the level where you've gotten, Justin. As PGA of America and some of these other, national brands started to reach out to you, I know you had a video out here not that long ago, with the PGA of America out on Facebook and some other things. As that started to grow for you, how much of a surprise was that for you, and what's that been like?
Yeah, really big surprise. So it had to be 3 or 4 years ago. I started an Instagram account, and really the goal of that account was, to learn mostly, like learn from really good coaches and other stuff people post. But then also, I thought if I could help the world golf handicap go down by 0.01%, I thought, you know what, that's worth it. I'm going to try and make that Instagram account. And so, starting 3 or 4 years ago, I started to post pretty regularly. And there was, a couple posts that caught a ton of traction, and I got a lot of followers from it. But just recently, it feels like, people, bigger players, I guess, have started to notice that. So the PGA of America, I had, never thought I'd say this to you. I had an interview with the Wall Street Journal a few months ago, and then the Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal did an article on it. They kind of saw that. So I really had no idea that was coming. But it all started with the idea I'm going to try and make, the world of golf just better by 0.01% by trying to share advice and bust some myths, share some really good swings that people could maybe try to take some things from. And I just had no idea it would turn into what it did. But I also think it's important to have it as a coach now, because as we look at how the world is progressing, I don't think technology is going anywhere. And I'm starting to see more and more high-level coaches take on online lessons. And so I think I told you this off the air, but I think I gave a golf lesson just in the past month, through some online lesson platforms. I want to say Australia, Finland, India, Canada, and then there's some like West Virginia, Florida, Arizona, Texas. But I've been doing a lot of online lessons as a product of the Instagram stuff and the social media stuff. But it makes the world a pretty small place when you start doing that.
How different is it trying to give a lesson over the internet like that?
It's different, but I've actually been super surprised with the results. So the way I do it, for most people, I have an unlimited online kind of subscription where they can send me videos every day if they want. But mostly it's just every time they go practice, I'll have them send me a video. And so it kind of starts by them sending in videos of their swing and telling me about their issues. And then what I'll do is I'll do a big in-depth analysis of what's going on in their swing. I'll identify some of the root causes of their issues. And then I'll create a customized plan and a customized video for them, kind of outlining the drills I want them to do, the practice routine I want them to follow, and all those types of things. So the really cool thing about the online, and especially this program I'm talking about, is I can identify those 2 or 3 things maybe a player needs to get really good at. And then what I can have them do is I can have them send me videos of them doing that like every other day. And so essentially, instead of a 1-hour lesson once a month, these guys are getting 5 minutes of feedback every day. And for me, I think what I've seen is that is way more powerful than seeing a coach for 45 minutes or 50 minutes once a month and then being on your own for 29 days. it's way more powerful to have feedback every 5 minutes to make sure you're doing that drill exactly right, that you set up that station just how you're supposed to, that the ball is exactly where you're supposed to have it in your stance, that your grip is exactly where we wanted it to be day after day after day. You go 29 days, and what if someone's doing that drill wrong that you told them to do? They just wasted a month of their improvement. So it's been really cool to see those students kind of take those on. And let me give it to you straight. Those people tend to be golf sickos, just like me. They go home and they hit golf, like foam golf balls up against their garage. They hit rolled up socks in their basement against their, wall. It's crazy. These people love golf. And that's why they get better at it, because they practice it all the time. But yeah, it's been really cool to see how those players can get better, and it's made the world a pretty small place.
Do you want to let people know where they can find your Instagram account?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you open Instagram and you type in Crafty Golf, that's Krafty Golf. That's my ugly mug, first one that pops up. And you can hit the follow button there if you want. You certainly don't have to. But I do respond to DMs regularly, so you can message me on there, and I'll happily message you back. On that page is a link. If you click the link, there's a bunch of options for online lessons. You can kind of scroll through. There's a couple different platforms that I use. Sneed, I think, is the top one for online coaching, and then there's another one called Skillist. They're both very similar. Just kind of depends what layout you like the most. Deciding from there. But yeah, Instagram's a great spot. And I respond to those DMs all the time. I check it almost every day. So happy to answer any questions anyone has about online lessons too.
Justin, you talked earlier about your wife and you guys moving to Minneapolis. Tell us a little bit about your family and the family life right now.
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, so we're actually expecting a child November 12th. So trying to gear up for that a little bit. I promise it's no coincidence that a golf pro happens to have a child coming as soon as winter's coming. But we're excited to see where that takes us. And Katie is my wife. She went and played college softball at Northwestern, which is where we met. And she is now a pediatric intensive care unit nurse working downtown in Minneapolis. So my bad days are way better than, her bad days. I really have no room to complain about being a golf pro. She's out there saving the lives of, kids under 16 years old. So she's the real hero, not me.
Yeah, tip your cap and tip our cap to her and thank her very much. Congratulations as well on the new one coming in November. So that's awesome to hear. So, Justin, anything you want to leave our listeners with? We appreciate catching up with you here today.
No, I don't think so. Just if anyone has questions about their golf game, I'm happy to help them. And I don't forget where it came from, man. I love Sac County. I love Carroll County. I love coming back to this area. As I drive back to Minnesota, it's always fun to look around. And it might get old looking at cornfield and bean fields all the time, but I promise up in the city you don't get to see it as much. So soak it in while you're here.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, man, it has been so much fun getting a chance to catch up. I've been trying to follow you as best as I can, and glad to see that everything's exploding for you, and you deserve everything that you've gotten in your career so far, and I have a feeling it's just getting started. So thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your trip back home as we talk on a Sunday evening here, but thanks again for giving us some time, and we look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Don't be a stranger. Thanks for all you do for Iowa sports. You're the best, man.
You bet. Head coach, again, Justin Kraft, again, former ESAC Raider, now again the head instructor, director of instruction up at Spring Hill Golf Course up in the Minneapolis area. We'll be back with more Rewind coming up next right here on KCIM.
And we're not going to wait. We're just going to go right back into it because we're running out of time here real quickly. But what a terrific interview, by the way. Great on your part, and he's just phenomenal. Justin Kraft.
He is phenomenal. I want to leave with this thing here, but I have to phrase it this way as well. So the PGA of America social media team has been having Justin do swing analysis for players such as Tiger Woods, Xander Schauffele, and Bryson DeChambeau. Now, again, he says, I'm not coaching them, but I'm doing swing analysis for the PGA of America. So that's pretty cool.
That is amazing stuff. Yeah. I mean, amazing how it all came together with the Instagram and all of that stuff, and it's just exploded. I got his page pulled up right now, and Oh, I've seen way uglier profile pictures. Believe me, Justin, man, you got nothing to worry about there. So, but how crazy is that? He's up in Minneapolis. His wife's a pediatrics intensive care nurse. I mean, that's a couple out there making life better for people.
And they are, absolutely, and great people. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, the preview shows. You got that coming up this week?
We do. We'll be talking with our area volleyball coaches coming up this Wednesday night at 6:30 here on KCIM.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, excuse me. Yep. So if you miss it Thursday night, it'll replay on Sunday morning at 10:30. The football coaches preview show will begin Saturday morning at 8 o'clock here on KCIM. If you miss it on Saturday morning at 8, it'll replay Wednesday the 28th at 6:30 here on KCIM.
And Casey, you were in here earlier to get a coach recorded for that, and no luck.
Yeah, no luck. But he texted me and said he was busy, so it's no big deal.
Shall we put him on notice right now on air and call him out?
I don't know how that'll boat over.
Yeah, way to start an interview with an awkward moment like that.
Yes.
Anyway, look for those preview shows, and it'll all be available online, right, on the sports website.
Yep.
And tell people where to find all that.
Yeah, go to sports.1380kcim.com. So the volleyball one I'll post on Sunday. I'll have all the interviews on one page, so you can pick and choose what coaches you want to do. And then the football one I'll post after it re-airs next Wednesday, the 28th. So I always wait to make sure it airs twice before we throw them out there online for people to find them on the web.
Outstanding stuff going on today, man. Great interview with Justin Kraft, too, by the way. So anyway, that is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week.